All right, welcome. It's Chris Petrie. We're here. It's an Extreme Beginners video. We're going to have a great time painting this seascape here. We're going to show you every step of the way on all the processes and procedures you'll need to do to get this painting completed beautifully. We're going to have the Prang Oval 16 set that we're going to use. We'll show that. That will be on camera at all times. You're also going to have a photograph that we'll be working from on camera at all times. So you're going to see this photograph right here all the time, right up on the above here like this. And we're going to have this entire painting here as well on camera at all times. So you're going to see all of the very important parts of the process of your painting, everything here in the one location on camera. And it's just going to be a wonderful time of it. So let's get started. We have a little drip here happening there, here and there, no big deal. We always say that don't stress, make a mess with watercolors. So always remember that. Don't stress, make a mess. You can see we have splashes here and there, sand. You want speckles of sand on your painting. We're going to show you the technique too of splashing and speckling some sand here for your textures. All this here covered on this video. Seascapes, beaches, a nice beautiful seascape shack here, ocean, sky, all the washes, everything 100% covered, right to the last finishing touches of our figure with a fishing pole. You can leave the figure out if you don't want to really take the challenge of doing some figures in your painting, but that's totally fine. I think this is a simple figure anyway, but no worries. Let's get started in just a second. All right, so we just saw the finished painting. We're excited. Now we're going to get into this scene here. Beautiful ocean beach scene with, it's kind of a seascape with beautiful cabana here along the ocean. Some gorgeous blue sky. We have sand dunes here going and leading into the small shack here along the water in the ocean. So we're going to create this scene. We'll do it in a fun way. And again, this is an Extreme Beginner series, so I'm really glad you're joining me here. And if it's your first time here, great to have you here. Great to see you here. And also, if you have been watching for a while and you have been watching the Extreme Beginners series videos, you'll notice that we use the very simple approach to our art supplies. We're using a very inexpensive Prang Oval 16 set here. We use synthetic brushes, which are great for beginning out. If your first 6 months, your first year, you're better off using synthetic brushes. They don't hold that much water, so when you do use them with your water bucket and you're working in your palette and on your painting, you're less likely to flood your painting out with too much water and cause a lot of, unpleasant looking washes on your painting. So that's why I say this Extreme Beginner series is always a great series of videos you can watch. And I have literally probably 100 Extreme Beginner series videos that are in my archives on YouTube. So you just have to type in the word Extreme Beginners on YouTube and you'll see that I have literally like 100 or more videos. And these are all geared towards if you're just starting out. So you'll have 20 beach scenes you can paint and maybe 10 or 15 lighthouses and, other flowers and, landscapes and all kinds of interesting things like that. So you'll always have a ton of stuff you can work from in my archives. And going forward, we're always going to be creating these Extreme Beginners series videos. So no worries on that. You're covered. You have everything you need right here on my channel. I'm hoping you'll, feel free to subscribe so you don't lose a track of us here. The first thing I like to do, even before we start sketching or whatever, let's just spritz our palette here. I want to clean up the palette just a little bit. So each time we paint a new painting, and even throughout, sometimes even in the middle of a painting, I'll make sure that I keep my palette clean. And in this way we have nice fresh colors, clean looking colors. We don't want to get into the habit of just leaving all kinds of different kind of muddy looking colors in our palette. I definitely believe in, using grayed down colors and things like this, but if we keep leaving that in the palette over and over, I just find that if you keep your palette clean, even clean your palette a couple times during your paintings, 2 or 3 times during your paintings, and definitely every time you're starting a new painting, you definitely want to just tidy up your palette really nice like this. It doesn't have to be perfect, just, get all those large deposits of paint, just, kind of cleaned up a little bit so you have a fresh, clean working surface. And this is going to be our painting our photograph we're going to work from. And what I'll do is I'll get my, maybe I'll use this here. This is a soft pencil in 8B, and this is a Statler pencil. So Statler pencils are readily available on YouTube. I have the link down below. Any art supplies you can imagine, if you look in my description below, the description box, you'll see that I have pretty much like 90% of all my art supplies are there. I buy all my art supplies on Amazon. It's real simple. You just order them, great pricing, and they deliver them within a few days or so. Sometimes the next day you'll get your art, your supplies. So that's a great thing. So I always, advocate, using Amazon. And then also too, they have tons of other, of course, it's like basically the largest shopping site online. So you can find every other thing you might need too as well. So if you're shopping for art supplies, you may need various things. You might need paint, you might need brushes, pencils, you might need some paper. It's all there. So you don't have to worry about going to different sites and different things like that. You can go right to Amazon. It has pretty much everything, all your brands, top brands, main brands, and watercolor supplies and things like that. So the first thing we want to do is when we're doing our watercolors, of course, if you're just starting out, again, welcome if it's your first time here. If you're a beginner, the main things you want to do is just kind of key in on the most important points of going through the process of creating a watercolor. So the first thing we do is we have our paper set up. We have our watercolor paper taped down to our working surface. You could have a sketchbook you're working from. You might want to tape out the edges. I like to tape around my edges of my paper just so I have a clean border all the time. When I'm done painting, I just lift up the tape and you have an automatic, beautiful, crisp, clean border around your painting. But if not, that's no worries. But here we have, I'm just going to pencil line around the rectangle of our painting, like that. So basically we created a rectangle like this. And again, the beautiful beach scene, seascape scene. Now the thing I'll do is usually, again, these are the main steps you're going to take as a artist. You're kind of always looking at finding out the process you need to follow to get the best results, because if you kind of just go shotgunning off in any different direction, we're probably going to wind up going off on a beaten track and not get the result we want. So to get the result we want, the first thing, I'll use a Sharpie. You can use a pencil. You can use a pencil to do this, but I use a Sharpie, and this is one of the reasons I do put tape around my paper, is because you can now do hash marks around your paper to get the main locations of your subject matter in whatever painting you're doing. If right now we're doing a seascape, maybe you will be creating a flower painting next or something else, and you want to kind of have things laid out for your composition. So the composition is really important in your paintings. Sometimes what happens is people start out with their painting and they wind up painting just a small little bit of information in the middle of their painting, and then the rest of the paper's all blank and there's nothing there because they started off way too small, or they started out sometimes way too large with something, and then they can't fit the rest of the information in the rectangle. So basically all you have to remember is when you're creating a painting, you have your paper size, whatever size your paper is, you have a rectangle, and that rectangle is the area you have to work in. So you have to be really kind of make a conscious effort to make sure you're kind of really thinking about, okay, here's my rectangle, I'm working within that rectangle. Here, our photograph is a rectangle too, for the most part. It's kind of looks squarish. It's pretty much a square actually, but we're going to kind of, stretch it out a little bit to make it work within this format of a landscape style painting. So here, we're just going to look with basic information and say, I'm looking at the painting and I'm saying, okay, the halfway point right in the middle of this photograph is like the edge of the sand where it meets the water. So if we just take this here and say, all right, that's the halfway point there. By all rights, if you want to use a ruler to get things really, really super accurate, feel free to do that. This happens to be exactly 10 inches. This vertical portion of this rectangle that we created. So we have 10 inches from here to here. So halfway is 5 inches. So this is actually the center point. This is the halfway. So we can just call that half. That's the halfway point. And then we could also say that if you have 5 inches is the halfway point, a quarter of the way. At this point, I'll use a different ruler so that we can start from the bottom and work our way up with measurements. And now if you're a beginner and you're saying, oh my gosh, no worries, you have to get a ruler. Rulers are pretty important, I think, with artwork. You can really gain a lot of value from a ruler to get your layout done when you're creating your painting and figuring out all the locations of all your subject matter. Kind of is really important to use. So again, 10 inches was the total distance between the bottom of this rectangle and the top. So now we said, okay, here's the 5-inch mark. We put that here. That's the halfway point. Now if you have 5 inches and you want to go halfway, if you want to go 3/4 of the way up to the top, you could say that that's 5. If you want to divide 5 in half, that's 2.5 inches. So you go 1, 2.5 inches here. That's the 3/4 mark. And the same thing down here. If you want to go with the quarter mark on this, quarter of the way up, like a 1/4 cup of milk, 1/4 cup of flour, 1/4 cup of Sauvignon, or whatever, something like that. Recipes. I'm thinking recipes right now in my mind. 2.5 inches is the quarter of the way up this rectangle right now. So you can kind of see I'm getting my hash marks up vertically. And what we have here is quarter, half, 3/4, and this is, of course, the top. Then when we look at this here, our photograph, we just took this photograph. We did a screen capture off of Google or whatever you like to use for your photographs. So you can use books, magazines. You can use my book. I have a new book out. Down below there, you'll see my book, the link to my book if you want to check it out. I have tons of actually beautiful watercolor paintings in my book. You can watch the 2-minute video. You'll see all the paintings that I have in my book. All the pages of the book are covered in that 2-minute video. So you'll know exactly what you're going to be picking up as far as my book goes. And again, I cover all the information on all different kinds of methods and techniques of painting watercolors in that book. So you'll have a lot of information, a ton of information about my work and how I do my watercolor painting. So I'm hoping you'll consider that to purchase that, because it's a very inexpensive book and it has a great amount of information and tons of beautiful paintings you can copy. And you can do it just like this. You can take my book and take pencil marks and mark up your book to figure out all the different layouts of each of the paintings. So let's keep going here. So then we just noticed that this is the sand here halfway, pretty much. So that's the sand. You can make a nice light line across here. Best thing to do, probably just to go here and say, all right, 5 inches over here. We'll come over here and we'll do 5 inches up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the 5-inch mark over there. And then you can kind of you can get a really nice beautiful level mark across your whole painting like that. Okay, so that's that level line across here, which is the edge of your beach where it meets the ocean. Perfect. Now let's take another look here and say, well, what's that distant ocean line? What's that looking like? Is that 3/4? I would say, yeah, it kind of looks like 3/4. You could measure it too with your photograph. You can always take your ruler and measure some information here on your photo. So if that's approximately 2.5 inches. So 1 inch is 2, so it'd be 1 1/4 inches. So 1 1/4 inches is halfway. That's about 3/4. Maybe a little bit less than 3/4. So we'll go a little bit under 3/4, and we'll make our ocean, the distant ocean horizon line right across there. Can you see that? Right there across that darker line, that's the distant ocean. That's what we're going to want to key in on next. Let's measure it. I'll come over here. Again, I'm using my ruler to kind of keep things pretty accurate. So that's 2 1/8 inch. And I'll come over here and just make the same mark. Here, 2 1/8 inch. Make a hash mark there, and that's all you have to do. You can use your longer ruler if you want to get that all the way across. So you just have to, like that. All right, so there you have it. I'll make these a little darker for you so that you can kind of really, that's the ocean line up here, the 3/4 mark, up a little bit under 3/4 up from the bottom. Here, the halfway point. Again, I'll just go over this like so. That's the halfway point in the composition, which happens to be the shore where the ocean meets the sand beach here. And then we'll just do a little bit of erasing over here because we're going to make our beach house right here. So we'll just erase that line a little bit here. And again, I'm going with darker pencil lines so you can see them. I want you to definitely see all the pencil lines that I'm creating. So I'll just lighten that up a little bit. And then what we'll do is, this is like kind of the most, I would say, really key feature of the painting. Everything else is important, but this, like, you know, shore house here, this small, kind of like a, you know, like a cabana, or, you know, well, like a, you know, small house along the shore here. We're going to just notice that it's about 1/3 of the way across the painting. So that's about 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. So if you look at your painting, 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. So now what I'm doing is, I'm not relying too much on my rulers and my hash marks, because once you get used to using your hash marks and your ruler, eventually, after a certain amount of time, depends how much you're working, but you'll just sort of get the feel for this so that you won't have to always be using your rulers and things like this. You'll be able to just kind of do this where you say, I can kind of just see that this is 1/3 here, 1/3 here, and 1/3 here. So eventually you get used to it. You won't have to use the rulers all the time. But I use them in the beginning because probably better to start out with your rulers, measuring, getting things just right, and then eventually you'll just kind of have a feel for it. You won't have to worry about it and think about it too much. You'll just be able to kind of see the divisions. So again, 1/3 of the way across, if you wanted to measure it, that's fine too. You can take your ruler and you can just say, okay, how wide is our rectangle? 13 inches. Well, half of 13 is 6.5, halfway. How about 1/3? So if we have 13 here, what do we have for our picture? Actually, 3 inches. So 1 inch is 1/3 of 3 inches. So if we have 3 inches across here for our photograph, and this small sea shack here is 1 inch, that means it's 1/3. So we take this and say, okay, what's 1/3 of 13? So let's break down 13 3 times. 12 would be 4 inches. So 4 inches times 3 is 12. We need to go a little bit beyond maybe. So let's say 4 1/4 is close enough. And there we have it. There we have 4 1/4. That's going to be where our shack is here. And we're going to come up here like this and just do this here. And then we're going to do the roof of our sea shack here. And it's going a little bit like so. And then it goes this way a little bit like that. And then it comes up this way like this way like this, and like that. And this like this. And like this. And then we see a few windows under here, like this. It looks like another window over here. that's the wall, and then there's another window over here, like so. So you can just kind of draw in your windows that you see on your our shack along the shore here. And you'll just notice that there's lots of plants and things like this. So now I'm doing some quick sketching of plants. Then I'm looking over here and saying I can see a lot of sand up here, and then I see the bits of weeds and grass and things like this and foliage across here. And then it kind of goes up and it goes above the area where the sand meets the ocean, up this way. Okay, like that. Simple enough. Okay, and now we have this over here like so. And what we'll do is we'll take a break soon. But I'm just going to get the bushes and trees and grasses and things over here. And you can see there's a large bit of trees and grasses and kind of like these are shore plants that are along the ocean. So you just make indications here of the of these plants. A lot of these are palm type plants here. So I want to get that sand going through here. So let's do that. That's going to be that little bit of sand you see here, right through there, that white bit of sand. We want to have that in there. Then we come down here and we get this. Just some indications of plants like this. We're going to paint those in. This happens to be a palm that leads us and leads our eye into the painting this way, so that works out great. And this here is the, I would leave an opening here, maybe down to the beach. I think that would be kind of good to do. And there's another bit of trees and bushes over here and plants and things like that. So you kind of see how we developed everything. All the way through the whole painting. We have the I just wanted to make that a little bit further out there. Okay, so now you see the whole painting, drawing of the photograph that's going to eventually be our painting. I'll put a little bit of lines here just to indicate that there's some of those white caps of the ocean coming in. That's really everything right there. Now the main thing we definitely want to make sure we have is the sunlight. The sunlight's coming from this side of the painting, coming this way. It's in the photograph, you can kind of see it. Can you see how there's that really bright bit of sunlight on the side of this shack here along the ocean? That bright sunlight indicates that the light is coming this way. And there's a shadow underneath the roof too, which means the sun is pretty high in the sky. So we can always make a little line here for a shadow. We want to make sure we have a shadow here, so let's put a line across there like that for the shadow. This is all in shadow over here. You can see that. This is all in shadow, this side of the shack. And again, let's make our icon of our light. So we have our light here like this, and we make our spotlight icon. I hope you'll do that. Please do that. Make your spotlight icon where your light's coming from. This way you always know when you're working, wherever you have your icon, you'll find it and look at it and go, okay, right away, the light's coming this way. And then that will help you right away to know if you're going to put in some shadows here and there, or the shadows on this shack here along the ocean, anything like that. You'll have it. You'll see it right away. You'll just refer to it, and it won't be like you have to sit there and think for 2 or 3 minutes on where the sunlight is again, trying to like second guess yourself. If you can like try to avoid second guessing yourself, it's going to be a great thing. So let's keep that in mind. These little things like hash marks to find out where our main points of interest are on our composition are critical. The light insignia, our light icon, that's critical to your composition and when you're doing your drawing to start with. And then once you have the pencil drawing done and you have your layout correct with your hash marks, then you're really in perfect shape. When you go in to do your painting, you'll just have everything all set up perfect for yourself, and you can just go in and relax and paint the painting. And you won't have to be, really, again, scratching your head in the middle of your painting on what to do. You'll already have everything set perfectly the way you want it the first time, and that'll be it. So right now what I'll do is I'll just do a little bit of erasing here and there. I'm just going to erase a few lines because I do the dark lines so you can see them, and I like dark lines and lots of pencil lines in my paintings anyway, so I'm fine with that. All right, let's come back and start the painting next. Hope you're enjoying this so far, and again, if you feel free to subscribe if you haven't subscribed before, especially if you're brand new here. This way you can follow along. We're painting week after week, month after month, and year after year here. We're creating new paintings all the time for beginners. So that's something I'm really always interested in, is making sure I'm creating paintings that are for people that are just starting out, or maybe in their first 6 months to a year of watercolor painting, or if you're coming back from painting and you haven't painted in 20 years and you want to start again. It's a great refresher to kind of start with the fundamentals again, using simplistic supplies, a really inexpensive palette, some simple brushes to use, and just starting from there. And then you can work your way up and do some more fancier palettes and better paints and better supplies once you kind of get rolling again. Or if you're just starting out, you definitely want to start out really humble, start out with some inexpensive supplies. You can also buy expensive supplies if you want to. It depends on your budget, but in any case, it's never hurts to just start out with simple, basic supplies that are inexpensive, because you never know too. You might want to start doing like oil painting, and you might, or acrylic painting or something like that, or sculpture. You might decide maybe this is not for you, watercolors, and you'll have other things you can do too. There's tons of other art endeavors you can go into. But in any case, let's get started with the painting next, and we'll have a lot of fun. It's a beautiful scene here with the ocean, the greenery, the shack there with the beautiful sunlight just cascading off the side of that shack there on the side of the painting over here on the left side, and then all the beautiful sand and a little bit of crashing waves coming in. We're going to have such a fun time doing this, so let's get started. All right, so let's get ready to start the painting here. I just wanted to do maybe 1 or 2 things here. I wanted to make sure that I have this over here kind of set. The palm plant over here, I just want to make sure I have enough of the sketch in here that I can kind of work from that. All right, so that looks good. That's right where this palm plant is here. It's like a small palm tree. here, and then there's another one over here. So I have these in, that's good. And there's another one over here. Like this. Okay, everything else looks pretty good. Let's do a figure or two maybe in the foreground here. I think that would look kind of good. So maybe let's see, maybe I'll do something like maybe two people chatting, or maybe just one person here. Let's do maybe one person. And this person's maybe just casually standing here along the ocean, the beach sand here. And maybe they have a fishing pole here. Like this. So they have a fishing pole. And if you find that you had an issue with maybe a part of the figure, maybe the don't really fuss too much over the figure, you know, or if you want to leave out the figure, that's fine too. I just figure I'd put in a figure here, maybe make it look a little more interesting. So you have somebody here, they're going to be going fishing along the beach here, and that should be good. A little bit of figures in our paintings are always something interesting to do. And we could also maybe put you know, another figure if we wanted to somewhere. I wanted to leave that little bit of that little opening in the beach over here. And this is the beach sand here. All right, now next thing, we have our brushes. Let's get some of our brushes we use for the Extreme Beginners series videos. We're just using, again, a lot of the we use always the Prang Oval 16 set. It comes with a brush, a round brush, really nice brush, stock brush, good for smaller paintings or fine details. Then we have some flat brushes here, synthetic, and then we have also synthetic round brushes, detail brushes, and the Simply Simmons number 9, which is great for details too as well. So you have a selection of brushes. Again, all of these art supplies, these brushes are all below in the comments section. Links to Amazon, you can purchase them. These brushes here, the Princeton brushes, are come in a pack of like a set of 6 brushes, maybe 3 square brushes and then some round brushes, the Princeton brushes. So you'll always have good selections in my list below. And Princeton brushes are fantastic for starting out, maybe $10 for 6 brushes. That's a great deal. All right, so let's get started. I think what we'll do is let's start out with a large brush here. This is a 1-inch brush, 1-inch flat brush. And we're going to have to move this here. Let's maybe see if we can move it over this way, maybe a little bit. Okay, that's all right. I think that's good. We'll spritz our paints. And this Prang Oval 16 set's incredible. You have so many great colors right here in this set to give you a great variety of color. So I have fresh clean water and a water bucket over here to the right of my working station over here. I usually use a tissue or a paper towel or a sponge. Well, usually I have a sponge next to my water bucket. This way you can kind of, if you have a large brush, you can take the brush out of your water bucket and then tap on the sponge a little bit to take off some of that flooding water that's coming off the brush. So you can do that, and then you also can take out more water if you need to with a tissue or sponge to further dry your brush if you need to when you're working with your paints. But right now we are going to do the alla prima method. So being that we're going to do the alla prima method, we're going to start off with the smaller darks of the painting. So I'll use my small Da Vinci travel brush, synthetic round brush, and let's see if we can get some of the darks in our painting. So we can move this back over here if we want. And let's just see if I can find some of the darker darks. So I'll take some blue here. This is kind of like a French ultramarine blue or a cobalt blue. And this here is kind of like a cerulean blue. Kind of like that turquoisey blue. So we have some blues there, and even some greens here. Some of this, it looks like viridian green. Beautiful green, kind of like a turquoise green. So we're just going to get some colors going here on our palette, maybe some brown here. I tend to like to just take my colors from the palette over here like this. Blues over here. Kind of like straight over across, greens up here. And we do have quite a bit of greens here, so we're going to put lots of green here. A little bit of brown in the green to make it a little bit grayed down, almost like an olivey green. That looks good. Brown here, maybe a little bit of orange. So I'm just kind of getting some colors on the palette. Just, that's all, simple as that. Now to get some really the darks of the painting, we could ask ourselves, what are some of the darks? If we need darks, we'll also have purple. Okay, so some of our darks are blue and brown. Makes a great dark. Blue and brown. That dark blue. Maybe a touch of red in there. Okay, and then we're going to look and see that there's some windows over here. I think they look kind of dark, so let's get those dark windows in. Over here in the shadows. And this looks pretty dark too, this window over here. Okay, so I'm getting in some darks, and these are going to lighten up a little bit. And we could also add some yellow and orange into those darks, just to give them a little bit of warmth. And then let's do our figure. Why not do our figure? Light's coming from this direction, so And what I'll do is I'll just try to, sometimes you can use your tissue to lighten up a couple sections here if you find you have too much dark paint there. But I think that looks pretty good. A little bit darker on this side over here. He's going to have a shadow. I'll make a little bit of a purple shadow over here. Like this. And he's got kind of a yellowy orange shirt on, so I'll put that over here like so. And then it's a little bit darker on this side over here. Shadow side. And maybe a little bit of a red complexion. I'll put that over here. I dry off my brush with a little bit of paper towel or tissue, and we'll just get our face on here. Okay, so we have some flesh tone. That might be a little bit too red. We need a little more orange to that flesh tone. We have his hands over here. And we let the paint mingle, mix around a little bit. Okay, so he's got his fishing pole here, and he's a little bit of a darker shadow there. Maybe a little bit of brown too in his complexion. And don't worry about it if you have too much water on the paper. You can always blot up a little bit. And we're not shooting for perfection here. Let's just try to get some fun things happening. And his hat would be like this. Shadow under there. Shadow under there. Purple. And then light up here on the top of the hat. And again, don't worry about it. If you don't feel comfortable with figures in your paintings, you don't have to put them in. You'll just kind of skip that step where I'm putting in a bit of a figure here just in the foreground. Don't worry about it. Okay, and we're continuing on. We have green, brown, and then we will add some blue to that green and brown to give ourselves a little bit of a darker dark over here on the right hand side. Some blue and some brown. And then we're going to do this. We're just going to get a little bit of that darker dark there. You can see that. And I'm just going to do some up strokes like this, just to get some of these darks in there. And a couple of turns like that. And I hope you'll... Light's coming from here, so a little bit darker on this side. A little more light on this side of the plants and things. And over here too. This might be a little more blue over here. So you can take a little bit of green and mix it over here with the blue. And we're trying to, I'm going to splash a little bit here. I'm going to try to make some a little bit cooler looking weeds or I should say palm plants over here. And these are darker on this side over here. Like that, and there's some shadows obviously. So these plants have some shadows next to them. On the right hand side, again, the light's coming from this direction, so you can just automatically make some really nice, and then I'll just take my okay, and some of this over here. And these are tending to go with some of the lighter bluish colors over here. We're in the distance now. See, this is further away in the picture, so we want to add a little bit of more blue to these plantings along the water here. Even though we might not see it that way in the photograph, since we're creating this painting, we know we want to try to enhance the feel of distance here. So if we make this a little more blue and add more blue to the wash, to the colors, we know we'll have that effect working in our favor, and that's what we're going to do. Okay, and we also have over here, maybe it's getting a little bit more now we're getting a little more green. More of a vibrant green with less blue, like that. We could do a little uplift like this, or a couple of uplifts like that. Here and there. A little bit of green there, a little bit of water. A couple of splashes here and there. Like this. Then we have some more blue and green and brown. Make ourselves a good dark green. And then we're going to have some of this over here, which is kind of like this branch coming out. Like this. A little bit of orange. Again, watercolor is fun. Have some fun splashing. Okay, so you have some angles going this way into the picture, so that's why we put this, we have a little bit of a palm branch coming in the picture this way, and we did the same thing, bring that palm branch in like this. Good enough. Okay, and then we have a few more palm branches over here. So we could start doing a few of these, and I'm feeling like we need a break soon. We've been working quite a bit now for about 15-20 minutes. So I'm going to try to get some of these palm branches in here this way, like that. A couple of uplifts with our brush like this. And we just mix around our colors, and we make them, the greens, more vibrant as they get closer to us. and I'm using this smaller brush. You could move up to a larger brush if you want. This is the Simply Simmons number 9. This is a little bit larger for the round brush. You could go with a little bit of a larger brush here. Easier to cover more ground quicker. But definitely, and I would mix up lots of mixes of greens, some browns, some oranges. All right, let's take a break. We have plenty of washes on the paper now. Some splashing along here. A little bit of finger dabbing along the house here. Shadow underneath the house here. All right, I think we are in great shape. We did a lot of work here. You could have broken this up into a few sessions if you wanted to. I think usually I take breaks every 15 to 20 minutes, but you do what you feel is the best for you. You're the artist. You're going to decide when to take some breaks, if at all. Sometimes you could work for an hour or two, maybe you don't need a break, or sometimes it's different. Sometimes you might feel a little more tired, you need more breaks. Sometimes you'll feel more energy, and you can just keep working on your paintings. It's up to you, but let's take a break now. We have quite a bit of work done so far. We have a lot of those grassy areas in with some of these palm plants here. We have some more palm plants that we're going to want to do over here, some of the details of this palm plant here, but we're going to keep it loose, fun, and we'll be kind of finishing up probably within the next 20 minutes to 30 minutes. I'd say the next half an hour we should have everything completed. This is the more challenging areas, doing all the grasses and the weeds and the trees and things, and the figure, if you decided you want to do the figure. But then other than that, once you're done with this area that we've done here with the green of the grasses and the weeds and all of that, and the dunes, we're going to leave pretty much this all white paper. Then we're just going to have to contend with the ocean and the sky, and I think we'll do it real simple. Keep it like a simple looking painting, really nice, and just keep everything kind of minimal when it comes to the sky and the ocean. And so this is more or less the more detailed area of the painting is the foreground here, where we have all of the shack and the figure and some of the plants and all of this. Okay, so we'll come back and continue working on this. We'll be right back in about 2 seconds. All right, so we are really in great shape here. We're kind of moving right along. We have our foreground and our middle distance here pretty much covered. We have our grasses and palm plants here, really in great shape. We'll do a little more detail work over here, and I think we might get a little bit of a wash on this roof over here. Let's do that first. Maybe we'll get a little bit of a wash, a grayish wash here on the roof. We kind of see it's a little bit, it's not really super light, so we can kind of get a bit of some wash on this here. like that. And maybe a little bit of orange. Some warm wash within that cool wash there. If you feel you've gone too dark with that wash, you can always lift up a little bit with your tissue or paper towel just to lighten it up a little bit, and it will dry lighter too. Always remember, watercolor dries about half as light as when you're putting it down on the paper. So that's a great rule to remember, like a rule of just in your mind you'll say, well, when I'm putting on a wash, usually it's going to lighten up about half as light or half as dark as it is when you're putting it on the paper. So this will dry substantially lighter. And this over here, I think I'm going to leave white paper, this side of the roof over here. The light's coming from this direction again, and we have our light icon up here letting us know where the light's coming across the picture like this. So let's leave that like that, and then we're going to have our shadow, our purpley shadow over here underneath the roof like that. And a little bit of purple over here too. Let's get some of that purple, green and purple for our shadow. Maybe a little bit of warmth in there too. A little bit of some red or some orange, you know, your choice. You can add a little bit of, it's always nice to have a little bit of warmth in your shadows so that they don't feel incredibly cool and you don't see any kind of warmth in there. Alright, so that's good there. And let's see what else we have. Some details over here. We'll mix up some more green. And if you have to, you just remember you can add a little more with your spritzer bottle to activate your paints a little more. Again, you just kind of, that's what's great about these old Prang Oval 16 sets. All you have to do basically is just spritz some water on them and you're ready to paint. And then you can just go about your business, and then a week later, if you're going to paint again, you spritz them again. You're ready to go and ready to paint. So there's no preparation for anything when you're using your Prang Oval 16 set, and that's why it's perfect for beginners. Because a lot of times, if you're just starting out in watercolor, you know, you have a lot of concerns, things you're thinking about, having to, you know, put some time in the schedule to practice, and all these other things. You don't want to have a million things on your mind about how you have to squeeze more paint out and tubes, and is it going to be hard, and is there going to be mold growing on it? Nothing like that is going to give you an issue when you have a nice Prang Oval 16 set like this. Again, you just open it up, spritz it with some water, you're ready to paint. You can leave it like this, leave it open, come back a week later, spritz it, ready to paint. Simple as that. No special type of handling instructions with your Oval 16 set. It's just open it up, spritz it, paint. That's it. So now we're going to do a little more detail over here with this plant. And you can also just do this very loosely. I would just do this very fun. Do some like this. Some splashes here. I would do a little more blue over here. I would make it a little bit darker under here. There's some shadow. Like this. A little bit of purple in there. Like that. Brown. Blue. Make a nice dark blue and brown. Maybe some more blue here and some Viridian brown. Maybe a little purple. Like this. And when you get close here like this, you can also have a needlepoint brush on hand. I always have a needlepoint brush that I like to have for my watercolor paintings, and these needlepoint brushes are incredible. They have a very, very extremely fine point. And then you can come in and take some of these fine points and just really, especially in the foreground here, where you can have some really nice details for some wisps of grass. And we will do some over here too, like this. And you can also get some and then maybe some orange. Let's put some orange paint in there, some yellow. Same over here. Again, if you're going to do a little bit of adding in of colors, please add it in everywhere else. Okay, I'll go back to the and this makes for a nice anchor to the painting over here on the left-hand side. Shadows over here. Okay, and what we'll do next is change our water. You can see how muddy this water looks at this point. Always good to change out the water, especially when you're starting to get into the lighter washes like the sky and the ocean. Now we're going to have some, I'll move this over here. Okay, and then we're going to use our large 1-inch flat brush, take some of that fresh clean water and just splash it on there and go across the whole sky. More water up at the top up here, and then sporadic water dampening of the paper underneath here. And then we'll just take some of the blues here and purples, and this should be fine. And kind of do it, add your paint I think I would add my paint in this part here. Okay, quickly, if you have an area that you paint it over, no big deal. But this is where I would, that's good. I wouldn't do much more than this. And then we're going to go a little bit darker once this dries now. So now we have to just wait. You can use a blow dryer, or you can wait 15-20 minutes and do a darker wash right over here where you can see how the ocean is quite darker. So the ocean is quite dark here along this horizon line of the ocean. And then it gets a little lighter over here along the beach sand. But we're just going to leave it as it is, except we do want to have a bit of a darker tonal value along this line here where the sky meets the ocean, the distant or horizon line of the ocean. So that's all we have to do. And then we're pretty much, our painting's completed. So I'm hoping you're going to stick with me here for the next 5 or 10 minutes. Well, let's just let this dry. I'll take a quick break, and then we'll come back and we'll finish up just the ocean, and we'll be completed with this painting, and we'll see how good it looks when it all comes together. I don't think we need to do much more detail. Maybe we'll paint in a few details with the fishing pole here with our figure that we created. Maybe there's a little more of a detail or two on our shack we might need to do. So I'll work that out when we come back, but great to have you working with us here and finishing up now as we get to the last bit of our time in on this painting. And again, I'm hoping you had a lot of fun here doing this painting. It's just a great way to create some beautiful seascape type paintings. Not too difficult. Some greens, some palms, some ocean, some sky, a figure if you want to put that in there. A nice little simple shack here along the ocean. Kind of, really beautiful painting to do. So hope you'll try this out at home. Hope you'll keep coming back here. We're working week after week, month after month, and year after year on my channel here, creating paintings just like this over and over and over again, as well as other paintings that you love, like flower paintings and landscapes, doing those beautiful countryside scenes with barns, and doing some architecture, houses, buildings, city scenes, cityscapes. So we do it all here, some figure painting, portrait painting too, every once in a while. So keep coming back. I know you'll always find something you love here on my channel, so hit the subscribe button so you don't lose us here. And then we'll see you just in about 5 more minutes, and to finish up this painting, you'll see how well it comes together for us. All right, we're finishing up this wonderful painting here along this gorgeous ocean and beach scene here, seascape. I think we just have a few things left to do. Again, we did mention that we wanted to get a darker bit of ocean along the horizon line of the ocean. So I'm going to dial back up my photograph here and put that up here just so we can kind of see. I'm going to see if I can prop this up maybe with some tape there. Okay, so you can kind of see that dark ocean line there. That's important. We really want to get that in. And we have different flat brushes we can use. This one's pretty large. Maybe we'll use this touch smaller. This is a 5/8 inch flat brush. And again, this comes in a set of 6. In the description box below, you'll see the Princeton Art and Brush Company. It's a synthetic watercolor brush set, so you get like 6 brushes for like $15. Great deal. Again, if you're just starting out. If it's your first time here, again, thank you so much for coming by. If it's your first time here and you've never tried watercolor before, you maybe just happen to see this video and you're kind of getting excited about it, it's a great medium. It's so much fun. You can take it anywhere. You can go on vacation with your watercolor paints. It's just basically a Prying Oval 16 set here. You fold it up, you throw it in a duffel bag, a purse, pocketbook, or even a backpack, whatever it is. You take it with you with some brushes and a little bit of a sketchbook or some watercolor paper, and you can be painting when you're on vacation or your getaways, or even if you're just doing some things around the house. You can set up some simple scenes in your house with some flowers, or it's endless the amount of fun things you can paint and create, draw and paint in watercolor. And it's such a fun medium because it's so easy to set up. It's there's no mess. It washes up with water, soap and water, so you don't have to worry about messing things up and clothes and furniture and stuff like that. So this is really a great medium, and I hope you'll really get interested in watercolor. And it's so much fun. You can just keep working on it year after year, month after month, and year after year. You can keep working with your watercolors, and it's just great. So let's talk about getting this darker line here. So the thing I wanted to do is I do have fresh clean water in my water bucket. You can kind of see how clear that water is, crystal clear water. You want to have that when you're working with your skies, especially where you have light washes. And then you're going to want to, the thing I'd like to do here is just take a damp brush and go across here lightly and just go all the way across right on that pencil line where the ocean is, and just dampen that line a little bit. Just like that. and then a little more water, and just kind of sporadically add it to the paper below that one bit of line you created there. And what this does too, if you take that damp brush and go around the top of this shack here with that damp brush, that'll keep the darker wash from flowing into your roof over here. Because you notice how our roof was kind of light? Somehow we lost our photograph. Alright, so this is giving me a problem. There we go. There, that's better. Alright, so you can kind of see how the roof is quite light here in this photograph. And we did keep it light here in the painting. We tried to stick with what we see in our photograph for our painting. We're always looking back and forth at our photograph, painting. We're trying to stick to what we see here, the darks, the lights, the colors. And then we're noticing that is a light rooftop there. Those shingles on that roof are very light, so we want to keep that darker blue that we're going to put on right now from flowing into the roof. So you just put a damp line right above the rooftop, and that'll keep that from happening. So now we'll get some darker blue here, like this. A little bit of green in there too. Let's see how it looks. Let's just go right across. And if you need to put a piece of tape across there, if you feel like you can't, at this point in time, if you're just starting out, you might feel like I can't get that line straight. You can always take a piece of artist tape, the really, I guess they call it a drafting tape, or you can also use the tape you can buy at the big box stores. It's like for trim, painting tape, painter's tape. Low tack, they call it low tack painter's tape. If you buy low tack painter's tape, you can put it right across the painting once your painting's 100% dry, whether you blow dry it or you let it dry naturally for a couple hours. You can put some low tack painter's tape across on your sky here, across this way, like this, right along there, and then this way your wash here on the ocean is going to look a little better. But I've been painting oceans and scenes like this for so long that I'm okay with painting something like this and not worrying about it. But that's I'm not trying to brag or anything. I'm just saying I've done it for so many times that I can paint that straight line across there. Okay, and that is... And no worries if you go over a spot. Take some tissue or paper towel and lift up. And you can always go back and we'll show you how you can add a little bit of white paint to correct some spots here and there. Okay, so that's it. We are good. Look at how good that looks. And then you can even get in some darker darks, some more blue and green and brown. And you could do a couple of little dark spots like this. But I wouldn't do it near the edges of the paper. I would just do it in the middle here. And what that does is it kind of makes your attention go to the center of the painting. Okay, now the last thing we'll do is we will take a little bit of, let's see, we'll rinse off our brush really well. We'll take our titanium white paint in the tube here. So this is titanium white tube of paint. And then we'll put a little bit of orange or yellow and orange in the top of the paint to make that paint a little bit warm, the color of the white. Because usually titanium white's very stark white. It's not really cool or not really warm looking. It's kind of just straight white. So since we want to make this a sunny, warm feel, we'll add a little orange and a little yellow to the top of the tube of paint, like that. And then we could take that and put it aside, wipe off that white paint off of our brush like that. And we can go back in and we can use a smaller brush. Maybe I'll go back in and use my travel brush like this. And we can do a couple highlights. So we can try to look around, say, do we need any highlights anywhere? We wanted to fix this a little bit, I think. And I think our figure looks fine. So yeah, I don't think we need to add many more highlights than what we just have. Maybe we could use a few. Maybe a little touch of light here for our windows. Maybe just a little bit like this. Just like that, a few little bits of light there. Same thing here. Okay, that looks good. And then I also noticed we need a little bit of shadow over here. Some purple. For our fishing pole here. So his pole is here, like that. And when you add some of these shadows like this, it really makes the painting look like very true to life. So we put that shadow in there for that fishing pole. That looks great. We'll add a little bit of brown to our green and our blue, just to make some, and we'll dry off our brush a little bit, and we'll just maybe, we just want to make a little bit of a, we just want to have some, a little bit of a dark line there for the pole, for the fishing pole. And then we can add a little orange or something. You could add a little pop of color if you want. But I think our figure looks good. You know, we could have a little more shadow on our figure over here. So I'm just adding a touch more of shadow. Make sure I dry my brush just so I have a damp, like almost a dry brush, just to fade that shadow in a little bit like that. And then maybe more of that purple and just a little bit of a dark over here. Like this. Maybe a little bit of red here, just a little bit more. All right, so I don't want to go too much more with our figure. A little bit of orange. Just a little more there. Okay, maybe a little bit of orange. And at this point here too, I'll take a little bit of paper towel and dampen it up with some water like this. And I'll just, you know, clean up one section here because I just want to do a few more bits of detail here. So let me go in with some of my Well, let me use my Simply Simmons number 9 round brush over here, orange and brown, like this. Dry off a little bit of the, I'm trying to get some speckles like sand. And then you can blot up a little bit. Like that. You want some speckles for sand over here maybe. Sometimes I'll do this a little bit just to check to see if I can get any. Maybe we could do a little bit of waves, some waves here. So I'll take the Simply Simmons with a little bit of that white that we were using before, and you can maybe add a little bit of white. Just a touch of that white paint for some of those waves coming in, like that. And I call that complete. All right, so we had a wonderful time, a lot of fun. Thank you for coming along here and painting with us. We have a lot of fun with our watercolor painting here. And again, I always say that we get together once a week. I think I'm just going to maybe fix that one spot there like that. And so please keep joining along with us week after week, month after month, and year after year. I guarantee your paint is going to look better every time you get together with us and practice with us. And from this point, we'll see you on the next video, okay? Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.